All right, speaking of sticking to it, Megan Rapinoe is sticking to her side of advocacy and is slamming Dave Chappelle, Steele, and Sam Ponder about their absurd comments. Okay, let's get into it. So we know who Megan Rapinoe is. She's a soccer legend, right? Now she's 38 years old. So she's on the way out right now, ending her player career after this season. But she's not ending her advocacy for transgender athletes, and it's not stopping anytime soon. Rapinoe recently sat down for an interview with Time and wasn't afraid to call out her opponents of transgender rights over their hypocrisy. It's time to raise your hands. I guess she calling us opponents. Let's go. We as a country are trying to legislate away people's full humanity. It's particularly frustrating when women's sports is weaponized. Now we care about fairness. Now we care about women's sports. That's total BS. And show me all the trans people who are nefariously taking advantage of being trans in sports. It's just not happening. The most amazing thing about sports is that you play and you're playing with other people and you're having fun and you're being physically active. We're putting this all through the lens of competition and winning, but we're talking about people's lives. That's where we have to start. Okay, let me make light of this first, because you know me, I'm Captain Levity, right? See that sign over my shoulder? Which shoulder is it? This one. It says, life is a game. Football is serious. I love that sign because life is a game. Sports is serious. And you can tell it's tongue in cheek in saying it, but there is something here. Let me just disagree with what she's saying right here and use her words against her. Okay, she tells me that sports is just about people playing with people. But then why did they have gender classifications if it's just people playing with people? Remember? I didn't make up the rules. I don't hate women. And women don't hate me. But women don't play football with me. Get it? So that's the whole thing. Once that classification came, it didn't mean that that other side hated you. So why are you trying to make an argument that if a transgender male is now in a situation playing against other men, which we rarely see ever, but a transgender female playing with females, biological females, means there's some form of hate on the other side? Make that make sense. That's part one. Part two is people do care about fairness in sports, right? Don't say that and don't try and conflate because you're not getting the same compensation that there's not fairness in sports. Because the fairness comes in, are you driving the same amount of revenue? If you really want to be fair, right? And then you have to prove that you are. And if you're not, because we know many women's sports are not compared to the men, then you have an uneven playing field. But it's actually fair based on what you're actually earning. Simple as that. Anyway, let's get into this. So she singled out some famous people who spoke against transgender athletes. She said, I don't want to miss words about it. Dave Chappelle making jokes about trans people directly leads to violence, whether it's verbal or otherwise, against trans people. When Martina Navratilova or Steele or whoever are talking about this, people aren't hearing it just in the context of elite sports. They're saying the rest of my life, this is how I'm going to treat trans people. Wow, that's a leap. So Sam Ponder thought that was incredibly unfair as well, blaming those three individuals for the way that the transgender community is treated. Say says bio males shouldn't compete in female sports, and now she's to blame for violence with a question mark. This is an attempt to silence good faith discussion and debate. Disagree passionately. Say she's wrong, but to claim she is responsible for violence is absurd. And I must agree with Sam Ponder there. And then Ponder's followers, they start commending her for defending her colleague, and Rapinoe has not responded to Ponder yet. Okay, let's get this all straight. Because that's a leap right there to say that transgender violence comes from people saying we want fairness in sports, right? So my grandma always told me, can't make sense out of nonsense, but damn it, I'm gonna try, Grandma, right now. We got to lean towards the logic and evade the emotion in these kind of conversations. And it's literally, it seems like, as a collective, impossible to do, right? So that doesn't mean we all have to agree, because we can respectfully have public discourse about something that we disagree upon. That's the basis of this show, to learn or unlearn. Never Shut Up University is a place where you go to learn and unlearn. We try to stay away from rights and wrongs, right? But we've seen this play before called. The Megan Rapinoe play that she's running right now from the playbook is this. Wait till your career is done or on the downslope or you're basically over. And on the way out, you pick up a cause and you pander your way to the profits. Now, that's what it looks like from 30,000 feet, right? Because she is already admitted that there wasn't, in her eyes, fairness in women's soccer in terms of the equal pay. Well, let's talk about that. So she didn't make as much money as she felt she deserved. She didn't make a ton of money, right? So how can you make up that difference? Well, you can grab something like this, and not only you could be pure with the intent of believing in the cause, but you also could take it to the next level and profit off of that, right? We've seen that playbook before. You know what I'm saying? So not making the money, letting women's soccer now say, hey, only a few people are even discussing this transgender conversation. Why are we making this such a big issue? Well, why would you want it to become a bigger issue to now discuss the issue properly, right? This is the time to discuss it as it is growing in population. My daughter had to deal with this. I've done several clips on this before if you really want to know my stance on a deeper level. So I don't have a problem having this public conversation. I'm also not going to be put into a corner like a lot of people are. I'll give you this story. Last night, saw a woman athlete. She is a household name, woman athlete, who saw my video before on transgender athletes and commended me, but also stopped short of saying I would ever say anything. She says she's not going public with this because of how she will be treated. But she fully supported what I said. And that's what's happening a lot of times. And comments like this from Megan Rapinoe is another attempt to silence those who are, quote unquote, saying the other side, whatever that may be. Now, we don't have to be binary in this conversation, but we also don't have to be antagonistic as well, as I feel Megan Rapinoe is. Let me give you some objective measures, because I am a former athlete male and my wife is a former athlete female. I'm going to take something objective because I don't want to do soccer and football. It's hard to get a measurable. Track will give you a measurable. FloJo's the fastest woman to ever be created, ever exist. FloJo. Ever to exist. Fastest woman ever. 10:49 and 100. FloJo versus this. Boys in high school. The top 30. Let's just say the top 30 ever. Where do you think FloJo ranks against boys in the same race that she has the world record fastest as a woman ever? Where do you think she ranks in the top 30 boys ever in 100? Did I hear you say 20? 25, 10, she's not ranked. The 30th fastest boy ran a 10.20. The fastest woman ever ran a 10.49. All I'm telling y'all is if this conversation isn't respectfully had and based on the science and the logic, then there won't be any FloJos in terms of holding a world record, because that will now go to someone who is biologically male, transgender female, if you understand what I'm saying. So I want everyone out there to take the challenge of just speaking respectfully about your side if you want to say it's your side. But we got to have that public discourse. And if it's not happening out there, it's always going to happen here. And we're not going to shy away from anything, no matter how hard they want to attack us.